Hello, my name is Ryan Williams. I'm a PhD student at Teesside University, and in this video I'm going to talk about learning spaces and how learning spaces can be linked in to my PhD. I'm no expert on learning spaces. It's a completely different part of education to education technology and TEL, but there are some key themes generated from the learning spaces literature that I think is quite relevant in my thesis. The physical environment in which teaching and learning takes place imposes a degree of regularity on social practices, such as physical activity, mental activity, and states of emotional motivation. The design of buildings are developed for our physical environment, although we've thought to relations between people and spaces. Therefore, the relationship between the environment and social practices is significant through the lens of socio-cultural theories. Many researchers have struggled in establishing what the environmental effects are on individual social behaviour. One of the reasons for this is that there are multiple theoretical perspectives that are rooted in psychology rather than sociology, meaning that there's a generality in the term environment, and it almost becomes ambiguous. In recent years, learning spaces have been given a profile to raise awareness of environmental, social, and cultural issues. Yet their effectiveness at communicating messages to students hasn't been studied extensively. Much of the media assumes that vastly expensive and lavishly resourced buildings are a suitable place to learn. However, some researchers argue that exciting structures can often distract us from the focus of key learning objectives. Successful educators are those who are reflective and are aware of how layout, lighting, sound, amongst other environmental factors can impact on a learning experience. Yet consideration to space often takes place in the context of architecture, rather than as an integral part of the teaching and learning process. However, there are examples of learning spaces, such as the digital classroom at Teesside University, that address such issues in a thoughtful way. In contrast, there are several other examples, such as lecture theatres, that evidence the constraint between the architecture's preconceptions and the goal of effective teaching and learning. There is an acceptance from educators that the learning landscape can create a sense of belonging, as well as facilitate group work and informal learning. Trowler and Turner argue that new academics or teachers starting at an institution can find unexpected interactions with colleagues in the staff room and in corridors. They find it more beneficial compared to formal work introductions. These interactions only occur and are only beneficial if the department layout is effective. In other words, social processes and culture form a way that learning spaces are used. Young people vary in the ways they respond to the environment, ranging from strong identification to uncertainty to total rejection. For example, the size, content, and layout of a classroom can impact the type of interaction that takes place, such as the teacher-student, the student-student, or the student and the resource. An example would be a large kind of open layout may not be that beneficial to students who have anxiety. Sociocultural theories argue that learning spaces should allow children to interact with as many agents as possible, and this goes beyond the physical space. In a typical classroom, teachers and students are accustomed to working together, whereas TEL can provide scope for a much larger interaction opportunity. Examples include social media, web chat, and Skype. The online environment expands learners' accessibility, meaning that they have 24-hour access to course resources and course material. Situated cognition and reflective practices are just two examples of learning that encompasses the social cultural framework. Thank you for watching.